So welcome to next video lesson that is on engineering mechanics subjects, and today's topic is in continuation to the previous one, that is simple stress and strains. And so by the end of this objectives, coming to the objectives of today's class, so on completion of this period you will be able to state the Hooke's law. So Hooke's is a scientist name. Okay, he has proposed this law. Okay, and let us discuss about the Hooke's law. Very important one, very basic fundamental and very important one, as well as academic point of view, as well as your interview point of view. It's a very important, as all these are very important, even the stress, concept of stress and strain, right? And this is Hooke's law, this stress strain curve. Another thing we are going to discuss about the stress strain diagram of the mild steel specimen. Okay, very fundamental. Right. So wherever you go, there is, you may expect a question from this one. Always, wherever interview, wherever if you are going for any interview, especially in the case of engineering jobs, so you may expect a question from this one. Okay, because they are very fundamental. So without knowing this one, if you are completed engineering, means it is a meaningless, right? So that is what the importance of all these things, especially stress and strain concept is a very, of course, whatever we have discussed in engineering mechanics, especially in this third semester we are going to discuss about this. They are very fundamental as well as very basic. Okay, we are where you can, you wherever it is it's nothing that there, here only it is required, there only it is required. So wherever you go, if you want to any analysis problems, all the concept of all this is required. That's what the importance of engineering mechanics subject. Okay, it's very basic and fundamental things. You need to understand things. Just remember whatever it is. Remembering is not enough for this one. Okay, remembering the stress, what is the definition of stress? That's all. This refers per unit area. That's all. And strain in another, change in length by original length, and like that, it is not sufficient. So you need to understand the concept, as well as you need to remember the constant concept, as well as you can able to apply these concepts wherever it is required. Okay, that's the importance of this subject, especially in this stress and strains. Again, it is very, again, this is also very fundamental topic. We need to concentrate more on this one. We may expect more questions from this one. In case of course, in the forces and moments, centroid and center of gravity, little bit of in combination with some other branches also, you might have all these things, and you might have studied in physics also. But concept, coming to this concept of this one, especially they are exclusive for the civil engineering. Okay, as definition of stress, of course mechanical people are up to certain extent, but it is more for the civil engineering. Now let us see what you have discussed in the previous classes, up to previous class, that is discussed about the uh, what is stress, and internal definition of the stress, and definition of the strains, and types of stress and types of strains. That's what we have discussed so far. Right. Now let us see what is the definition of stress. Stress is nothing but an internal resistance developed in a body per unit area due to externally applied loads. Okay. So against this external loads, if at all any body is subjected to any load, to resist that load, some internal resistance is developed. That is nothing but your stress per unit area, of course. Okay, so against the external loads, whatever the resistance offered by the member or a body per unit area is nothing but stress. Very simple. Okay, but don't say that stress is nothing but load per area. It's not. There is only a mathematical way of representing the stress. Okay, expressing or calculating the stress. Okay, using that formula, we can able to calculate this. What is the amount of stress that is only required, because directly the whatever the internal resistance, we cannot measure it. Okay, we cannot calculate or we cannot estimate it. So that is only for estimation of the stress. Means estimation means for calculating the stress, that formula is requires. Right. Next is definition is the strain. So what is strain? Strain is a change in length per the original length of the member due to the uniform stresses produced by the axial loads. Right. So if it is subjected to a loads, on if a member is subjected to loads, obviously there will be strain will be there. So that is nothing but strain means change in length to original length, or change in length to initial length. That's what is strain definition. Okay, these are fundamental concepts of stress and strain. But instead of in actual practice, in what happens is when a member is subjected to loading, whatever the type of loading, the initially the fundamental behavior is nothing but strain. Okay, initially it is subjected to strain. To avoid the strains, internal resistance is developed. That is nothing but stress. Okay, that's what the concept of stress and strain. Now let us go into today's topic. So Hooke's law. So Hooke's law, what is Hooke's law? Hooke's is the name of a person who actually initially proposed this law. Okay, that's why he is known on behalf of his name. That's named as Hooke's law. Okay, so what it states that within elastic limit, the stress is proportional to the strain produced by it. Okay, the stress is proportional to strain. Up to what point? Elastic limit. Okay, so what is elastic limit? Of course, let us discuss little bit by the after the next slides in the stress strain diagram. By the end of the stress strain diagram, you should be able to clearly understand what is the elastic limit. Let us discuss in detail there. So by that time, just you remember. So within the elastic limit, the stress is proportional to the strain produced by it. Okay, so when a load is applied on this one, when a load is applied on any body, any member, any body, it is undergoes some strain, deformation, right? Wherever deformation is, there is nothing but there will be strain is there. Okay, deformation is nothing but strain is there. When deformation is zero, strain is zero, right? So it is whenever it is subjected to strain, so deformation, so it is just yeah. So it's still subjected to strain. So it is member is subjected to strain, deformation. So obviously internal resistance develops. So internal that is nothing but stress. Okay. So up to certain point, when a member is loaded, it is goes on strain increases, stress increases, strain increases, stress increases, right? So it is at up to certain point, the stress and strain are proportional. Okay, linear variation is there. Okay, if you draw a graph between the strain and stress and strain, it will be varies linearly. Okay, so for certain materials, of course, not for this every material, right? So it lane is varies linearly, right? Up to, if at all, in this, what is Hooke's law is proposed that up to elastic limit, the stress will be proportional to the strain. That's what he has proposed this law. Okay, so up to elastic limit, the stress and strain is proportional. Okay, there will be some linear variation. That's what it is said, that mathematically it can be expressed as stress is proportional to strain. Okay, so mathematically it can be expressed as stress proportional to strain. That's what it is, stress versus strain. That is, stress by strain is equal to constant. To remove the proportionality constant, so let us say it is stress is equal to, like this also you can write, of course. Okay, so stress is equal to some constant, right? Some constant into strain. So some constant into strain. Some constant into strain. Right. So what is this constant? Generally we call it as proportionality constant. Right. So this constant we call it as a proportionality constant. So that is nothing but if you get this term to here, so it goes to be denominator. So stress by strain is equal to constant. That's what this relation. Right. So what is this constant again? So this constant is nothing but, so this constant is called as a modulus of elasticity or Young's modulus for tensile or compressive stress, and is specific to the material, right? This proportionality constant, we are calling it as a modulus of elasticity or Young's modulus. Of course, Young is an also name, so it shall be capital. So Young's modulus, right? Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity, right? So the person who proposed initially the first, it is nothing but Young's. That's why he is named it, and that's why it is named as a Young's modulus or we can also call this modulus of elasticity, right? Modulus of elasticity. Similarly, different other modulus also there. So this is nothing but modulus of elasticity, and it is denoted with the letter capital E. Right? Again, it is different for different materials. Based on the type of material, it will be different. For tensile and compressive stresses, this constant is called a modulus of Young's modulus for tensile and compressive stresses, and is specific to the material. Right? It is denoted with the letter E, capital E, and E is equal to, obviously it is from that constant is equal to previously what we have written. So in that was stress by strain is equal to constant. So that constant we are calling it as E. So that's why E is equal to stress by strain. Okay, stress by strain. Units for this stress is Young's modulus is nothing but. So just you from this one, what is this? This is units are stress. Stress in units are Newton per mm square, and strain has no units. So that's why whatever the units the stress will have, the same units the Young's modulus will have. Okay, that's why it is Newton per mm square or kilonewton per millimeter square or any other units that will be same as well stress. Okay, that's what is same as units as stress. So whatever the stress units you will have, that is same unit that Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity will have the same units. Okay. Now let us go to the, so it is right. So this is about Hooke's law, right? So let us go to the next one, stress strain diagram. Another one more important one, stress versus strain diagram. It is, you can say specifically stress versus strain, right? So many of the mechanical properties can be well studied by conducting a tensile test. So mechanical properties means especially for the materials, we need so many mechanical properties. So based on this mechanical properties only we will select the suitable material for the structures. In construction or any other material, any material that will be suitable for that particular type of work. Okay, that depends on its mechanical properties. So many mechanical properties. Of course, some mechanical property can be studied by conducting a tensile test. Means on a specimen. Okay, and a specimen is taken. Means specimen means it is a test sample. Okay, a piece of test sample, right? So that will be taken, and a tensile test is conducted on that one, on that specimen, and based on the, and the stress versus strain diagram is plotted. Okay, based on this one, we can draw so many conclusions. Okay, so how the material behaving and everything, so many things we can able to know from this tensile test, right? So a tensile test on specimen of material is conducted in the universal testing machine conducted by UTM. Means UTM is nothing but universal testing machine. So in this one, so it is tension test is conducted. Of course, this conducting the tension test will also be included in our syllabus, that is in the material testing lab. So this that is in your syllabus. You are going to do in the laboratory, material testing laboratory. You are going to test this mild steel specimen for tension test, right? And also you have to draw the stress strain diagram, whatever we are discussing here. So theoretically we are discussing here the same thing. You have to conduct a test on this mild steel specimen in the laboratory also, and correlate the results what you got, how you got the stress strain diagram, and how the actual theoretical stress diagram will be, and between you now compare the stress, right? So now let us see how it is actual stress strain diagram for mild steel, right? So consider a mild steel specimen for tension test, and it is this is specimen for the tension test, and the length between these two points is that we call it as a gauge length. Means over this we will supports will be two sides that will be held, and between that length, between that supports, we are calling it the gauge length, right? So length of the portion of the test specimen over which the deformations are measured. Means how much length we are considering for the deformations. That is nothing but gauge length. That is nothing but initial length. So the gauge length is nothing but the length of the portion of test specimen over which we are measuring the deformations. Means how much elongation is, because tension test means elongation only. How much it is elongating on increasing the load. So if we increase the load, how much that specimen is elongating, means deforming. Okay, increase in deformation. How much it is? For increment of 1 kilometer, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, like that, there will be certain standard increments are there. Not just like that you can increase the load or decrease the load. So there will be a continuous increase in the load is you have to conduct, and over which, so for which length we have to conduct, so that length is we are calling it as a gauge length. Okay, so deformations for which length we are measured, the deformations is nothing but gauge length. Means two dial gauges are provided at the two ends, so there it is, you will measure the deformations. The specimen is mounted on a testing machine, so gradually increase the axial tensile load being applied on it. Gradually increase the axial tensile load applied on it. So in start with the initially 0, then afterwards some standard increments are there. Of course, we are not going to discuss in this test procedure. In this case, we are only about the terminology here, worried about the actual test procedure we are going to see in material testing laboratory. And there is some standard lengths also there, what should be the gauge length, everything. So right, as the load increases, the length of the specimen also increases, obviously, because because it is applied load is a tension. So when a load is increasing, obviously what happens, there will be certain increase in length will be there. So load in load increases, obviously it elongates more, means length increases, increase in length will be. Okay, for each increment of the load, you have to measure how much the deformation. Right, initially it will be equal to gauge length, that is equal to test specimen. After first increment, you measure how much increase is there. Next, after second increment, measure the dial gauge. Using dial gauges. How we are measuring the length is using dial gauges. Okay, so it is initially 0. After first increment, measure it. Second increment, measure it. Third increment, each time you have to measure that what amount of increase is there. That is nothing but deforming. How much it is deforming each time. Delta L, change in length each time you after increment the load, just you measure it. Next, before going to next increment, next after increment, again measure it. After the another increase, measure it. Another increase, measure it. Right? Like that, you have to go on increase the load and go on measuring the what is the increase in length. That is nothing but deformation in length. Okay, change in length. The change in length is measured by an extensometer, which is attached to the specimen. Extensometer means which measures the extension. Okay. The stress and strains are calculated as, right. So initially, that whatever instrument that we are using for the testing is nothing but UTM. So in UTM, there will not be any. You don't get directly the stress sense. What we have to initially, finally, what we need the graph between stress and strain, right? Stress and strain. On the x-axis, stress you have to write, and on the y-axis you will write the on the x-axis you will write the strain. I'm very extremely sorry. So on the x-axis you will write the strain, and the y-axis you will write the stress, right? So for what increment or load, generally what we are testing pressure, how it is means nothing but, so first you put the specimen of certain gauge length, okay, in your UTM between the two supports of UTM, and first increase the load, right? So increase the load means what? Load means it in force. How much it is means one side will be fixed, on the other side it will try to pull it. Okay, so one side it will be rigidly fixed, and other side of your member will try to, the base will try to move from the previous one. Okay, one side is fixed, and initially it will, let us say it is like this. First, after the increment means it is pulls like this. Some load is applied, it is pulls. Second like this, second like this, next like this, like this. So it will go on, increase the load. It will elongate the member. Okay, so how much we are applying, what we are applying there, not the stresses, not we are directly getting the strains. We don't get stress and strain directly there from the instrument. So what we are doing there, just we are giving some amount of load, right? So we are giving some amount of load and we are measuring the how much increase is there. That's all. Means change in length we are measuring for each increment of the load, right? So what we are doing that from that how to calculate the stresses and strains. So we need the ultimately stress and strains, not the load and deformations, right? So to for that one, what we do is that we need to calculate the stress and strain from the loads and deformations. Stress is how to calculate. What is the stress? How to calculate the stress? Stress is equal to load per unit area, right? Load per unit area. So load is nothing but how much increment you are applying. Initially it is 0. So next, right, what is this? Load by area or force by area. Of course, load stress is equal to load by area or force by area, right? So first of all, let us discuss about the area. So area is nothing but how to get the area. So it will be the gauge length means it is some specimen with there. Generally that will be tested on circular specimen, the mild steel specimen, circular in shape. So you have to calculate the area. So pi by 4 d square. Okay, pi by 4 d square. So what is the d? D again, diameter of that bar we are using, diameter of the test specimen. Okay, that's nothing but d. And okay, now we got the area of the specimen, initial area, right? So next comes to load. Load, how to calculate? So initially the load will be 0. When the load is 0, what is the stress? Stress is equal to how much? Load by area. Load equal to 0, stress will be 0. Next come to the second, first after that first increment. Let us say you are increased to 10 kilo, you are applied a load of 10 kilonewton. Not this is, don't think that 10 directly it is 10 kilonewton load is increased, is there? Not like that. Just for example, I am taking a 10 kilonewton, right? 10 kilonewton divided by area, pi by 4 d square. D means diameter of the test specimen. Actually again there is some ratio is there, length to it is some standard specifications are there. Okay, as per IS code, how to conduct the deal, how to take the specimen. Just like that, you should not take the specimens. There will be some ratio has to be followed from the diameter as well as to the length. Okay, so on that based on this IS standard code, we have to conduct the test. Not just to take a specimen of 10 centimeter, 1 centimeter or 10 centimeters like that, and whatever the diameter available, and if you test it, so you will get the test and curve. No, not a issue, but it is not a correct procedure. You will not get the actually very our actual test and curve. Okay, you don't get like that. So there is some standard procedure there. You have to follow that procedure. Then you will get the correct type of test and curve. Right. So like that you have to test it. So first load 10 kilonewtons divided by area gives a stress at 0.1, right? So and second one, second increment, let us say 20 by area. Load by area means 20 by area. Your area will be constant. Whatever only load will be increases, area will not increase, because the area means specimen size will be, specimen will be same. Whether it is applied where applied 10 kilonewtons or 100 kilonewtons, the specimen will be same, and the same specimen we are continuing, right? So that's why it is load increasing means area will be remain same. When the load increases, obviously stress is what? Directly proportional to the load. So load increases, stress increases, load increases, stress increases. Like that, for each increment of the load, you have to calculate the stress. You have to tabulate everything in this one, right? And similarly, strain. So how to calculate the strain? So we have the formula here. Yeah. Strain is equal to how much? Deformation by gauge length. So deformation is meant changing length. So how much it is for initially when the load is 0, of course there will not be any deformation, right? When the load is increased, first increment, let us say 10 kilonewtons is increased, then see the deformation. You will measure using the extensometers, right? Whatever the measure you are measured from the extensometer, how much it is deformed, change in length is there. So that change in length divided by gauge length, right? Change in length divided by gauge length. Let us say at after first increment of load of 10 kilonewtons, let us say you got it as a strain equal to 0.001. Let us say, for example, okay, and your, let us say your what is say your gauge length means how much it is. Specimen length of specimen is nothing but, let's say 10 centimeters. 10 centimeters is 100 mm, let us say, right? So this is change in length. that is measured using extensometers, and this is nothing but original length, gauge length. For example, this is not the standard gauge length. Just I am taken for your calculation. I am explaining. This is not standard. Okay. For a given diameter, you have to calculate what is the gauge length. That's there is this some formula is there in our IS code book. So using that formula, you have to calculate the gauge length for a given diameter of the bar. Right. So now you got the strain. For example, for a load of 10 kilonewtons. Similarly, for a load of let us say 20 kilonewtons is applied. So let us say your strain is, for example, it is 0.0025, let us say, and divide by initial length. So that will give the second, right? So second point. So this is first. Initially it is 0. Next this one, the next this one, next another one, next another one, and go on until it fails. So until that 10, of course, initially whatever the number you take, if you have apply the load initially, so it will resist. So if go on increase the load, at certain point it breaks. Okay, so it cannot able to it beyond its point maximum load resisting point that breaks. Okay, after reaching the maximum strength, so it fails. Okay, so there is some maximum breaking point will be there for any material. So like that, this material also will have certain breaking point. After that point, it suddenly breaks. Okay, so breaking takes place. So up to that point, we have to test these specimens. And similarly, now calculate the load stresses. How to calculate? We have seen. So load by area. Similarly, first 0 load. Next start with the let's say next 10 kilonewtons. Next let us say 20 kilonewtons. Next let us say 30 kilonewtons. Next let us say 40. Like that, some standard increments are there. Okay, don't go for after 10 directly 0 from 100 or 100 to 150. Just like that, not it is. There is standard continuous increments are there. Okay, equal increments. Okay, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, like that. Okay, this is not standard. Again I am continuing. This is not a standard one. It's just like that. Only for example, I am telling you. There is standard increment. Again, you have to refer to the IS code. Draw stress versus strain graph by plotting stress values on y-axis and strain values on x-axis. That's what it is. Strain on x-axis and stress on y-axis. The resulting stress diagram will be shown. So this is the resulting stress diagram. Okay, very important diagram. So whenever you are attending any interview, so just like that, what they will ask, just you draw the stress strain diagram for the mild steel. Okay, so of course there will be some conspiracy is there. So some people will draw some up to this point will be after everything will be okay. After this point, some of the people were in different way, but more or less the shape will be like this only. Okay, so some people will draw this horizontal ordinate. Some people will directly it is start from here. So some conspiracy is there between some of the points here. So, but more or less the shape will be like this up to certain straight up to certain point it is straight line. After that it will fall like this, like this, like this. Right. Now let us discuss the each and every point in detail. Right. Because there are so many points are there A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But in some textbook they refer in different points. Okay, so first one is A means it is a limit of proportionality. Means it is first it is starts with the 0 means no load, no stress, no load, no deformation, no stress. Right. So everything whatever it is stress is nothing but in the stress axis whatever it is nothing but based on the load we are calculating stress how much it is. Yes, the internal resistance is developed. Whereas this one is nothing but on the x-axis, whatever we are using strain, that is nothing but direct values. Direct values are nothing but deformations. When you know the deformations, strain will be say you can calculate the strain. Strain is equal to how much? Change in delta L by L. Delta L is directly you can measure from the measure. We are measuring using the extensometers. So from that one we are simply noting down for a particular type of load, right? So these are the actual values, but these are the from this one it is we are calculating the from the loads. Right now directly. Now let us go to the diagram. When the load is 0, right? Strain, no strain, because no load, no change in no deformation, so no stress. That's why it starts from the origin 0 0, right? Now increase the first increment. Let us say 5 kilonewton, 10 kilonewtons. Next, you will get some strain, very less initially. Initially, the strain will be very less, very negligible amount of strain will be there at the initial stages, right? Initial stages, very negligible amount of strain you will observe. Means change in length will be very less. Okay, right? So that's why it is for if you see this one, for a certain amount of up to certain point, right? It will be only horizontal. What is the strain? Very less here. Whereas stress, you take, you see almost out of this maximum. So how much it is? Almost maximum very 70 to 80 more, or more than 80% of stress will be reached only on just initial stages only. Whereas this one, see the strain here, maximum where the failure point is this one, failure point here. So right there, like this. Okay, let us draw the conclusions at the end of this one. So first, now let us discuss about the different points. So increase the load, just it is strain will be increases. At the initial stages, the stress will be more compared to its strain. That's why it is your curve is very close to your y-axis. Okay, very close to y-axis, right? So most of the time, most of the people will be make mistakes in this stress strain diagram. So they will draw in such a way that the stress, if you ask to draw the stress strain diagram, they will draw like this. Of course, it is starts from origin only. Mistake, I made a mistake. So it will be like this. Almost it is at an angle of 45 degrees like this. They will draw, right? So it is, they will draw like this. The shape will be looking like same this one only, but this curve initial stages, it will be very close to y-axis, even not this much also. But because to represent the, for representation point of view, we are drawing like this, little bit of away from this one. Even it will be almost like just like a touching to your y-axis. That will be the your shape of your actual stress strain curve. That's what it looks like, not like this. So this is absolute blunder. Okay, don't draw like that, right? So draw as close to the y-axis. This curve initially it will be very close to this y-axis, because for a lesser amount of stress, very less amount of stress, initial stress, the stress will be maximum, stress will be more, not maximum, more. Okay, means for a initial stages it can able to take the maximum resistance will be maximum at the initial stages only, right? So now to come to the one point here. So a, that is the limit of proportionality. Some people will say it is either L. Okay, limit of proportionality L. So some textbooks refers it as a limit of proportionality A. But in this case, for time being, we are assumed as A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But some people, most of the books follow the some standard L. Okay, limit of, it is nothing but limit of proportionality, right? Next one, it is what is limit of proportionality. Let us discuss one by one after that. So next one is nothing but this B, right? So that's what it is. This Hooke's law, whatever discussed just now, this is valid up to this point B, Hooke's law. Okay, so up to this point B, it is Hooke's law. So generally most of the books, it will follow the elastic limit as a E. Okay, elastic limit E. Next, upper yield. Okay, upper yield point, so lower yield point. So low upper yield point means uy, so lower yield point ul, like this. Some people will follow, okay, u1 u2 are like this. And it is strain hardening point of view, so it is strain hardening point, this is E. And F is ultimate point, means it is if you go on increase the load, so it will reach us here after that point. So slowly again the stress will be more, but there is no polymer strain will be there. Okay, only stress increases. But in theoretical, so in actual it is not the case, so it will be like this. Okay, it will be like this. So it is, so it is, this is the point, is breaking point. So it is nothing but actual breaking point. So this is theoretical breaking point. So one is actually breaking point, another one is theoretical breaking point. So this is the ultimate point. After that, it is falling is there. This is the actual breaking point. So why it is 2 points, two breaking points in there based on some it is nothing but after this point, ultimate point, what happens, there will be necking forms. So necking forms means initially your I will show what initially what your specimen will be like this, means it is a circular, because after load application, increase in load, what happens, this is till certain point it will be forms like this, neck will be formed, neck shape will be forms. Necking forms. Necking means lesser cross section area. Cross section area less reduces compared to the initial one. It is less cross section area. So because of this one, so one curve will be like this, another curve will be. If you use the actual area, you will get curve this one. So if you take the reduced area, you will get this point. Okay. So this is the logic in getting 2 points. This, of course, this is the actual point. It is not shown here, right? So this is how it is actually looks like. So if you take this reduced area, because what is the stress? Stress is nothing but load by area. So when the area is less, stress will be more. When area is more, stress will be less. So that's why when the area is less, area is more, stress will be less. That's why it is actual curve drops down, right? So after this point, neck forms, right? So it is, that's why it is based on this one. If you take the reduced area, then it will be actual curve will be, it will not fails here. Okay, initially after forming the neck, it will not fails, right? After forming a neck also, it is even, it will take the loads, even stress will be increases, means it can able to take the load, but strain will be more compared to its stress, increase in stress. Okay, if you take, this is only the increase in stress, for example. Of course, this is not actual, I'm only for representation point of view, I'm drawing all these things. So it is only this much is the strain, stress increase, but whereas strain increase, this is a strain increase. Okay, for small amount of strain, for large amount of strain, only small amount of stress will be taken. So once reaches this point G, so it is fails. So it will be fails at one point, at weak point, at some point it both get separated. Okay, so up to this point they will be intact, but after this F, the necking forms, and it starts. Now let us discuss one by one points. So first point is nothing but between 0 O and B, means between the elastic limit, up to elastic limit. So this is we call it as a elastic range. Most of the theories, design theories, based on this elastic one. Okay, so elastic theory, right? Next one is perfect plasticity, means between elastic and this low yield point, or from the strain hardening stage. So this is called a perfect plasticity or yielding. Next one is strain hardening stage. So after this strain hardening point starts, up to F, it is nothing but strain hardening, and after that it is a fracture zone. Fracture zone is a fracture actual starts here. So necking forms here. So after necking, at certain point it fails. So that's when the fracture zone we call as. Now let us discuss one by one points here. The salient features of stress strain curve are limit of proportionality, elastic limit. These are the points, different important points, right? Upper yield point, lower yield point, strain point, ultimate point, breaking point. Now let us discuss one by one. The stress strain curve is straight line from O up to a point A. The point A is known as a proportional limit. Beyond this point A, the stress is no longer proportional to the strain. Beyond this point, the stress is no longer proportional to the strain. Okay, so after this point, it is stress up to this point, proportionality limit only, the stress is proportional to the strain. Next one is elastic limit, second point. It is also represented with a letter E. So it is indicated by point B. So on the elastic curve, up to this point, the material exhibits the property of elasticity. Yes, yeah. So what is the meaning of property of exhibit the property of elasticity is nothing but if you elastic stationary member, if you remove the load, so it comes to its original size and it occupies its original shape and size. That is nothing but property of elasticity. Okay, up to this point, if your load applied, up you reach elastic point, So if you remove the load, again it comes to its original shape. That is the importance of your elastic limit. Okay, up to this point only, if you remove the load, it will come to its original shape. Beyond this point, beyond this elastic limit, if you remove its load also, it will not come to its original shape. There will be some residual strain will be there. Means residual, not strain, residual, some elongation will be there, remains there. Even it will not gain its original shape. That's what elasticity point. So that's why it is most of the theories point of view, design point of view, we will consider the elastic limit. Okay. This is the limit up to which the strain produced will disappear completely on the removal of, that's what it is. Strain produced will disappear. Means it is whatever deformation will be there, so that will disappear completely on the removal of the load. And it gains its original shape. It can note from the strain is proportional to the stress between the points A and B. Right. So point A is the limit of proportionality, whereas the point B is the elastic limit. In fact, point A and B are so close. In while defining the Hooke's law, we have said that the stress is proportional to strain up to elastic limit. But in your discussion, in its proportionality limit discussion, I said that only the stress is proportional to the strain up to limit of proportionality. There is some conspiracy is there between this again limit of proportionality and elastic limit, right? But in practical, so that point of limit of proportionality and elastic limits are very close points, very close together. I mean, very gap will be very less. That's why for all practical purpose, what we do is that, but they can be considered to be one and the same. That's why we are in discussion also everywhere. So whatever the theories we propose, generally it is up to elastic limit, because the limit of proportionality and elastic limit are so close. Okay, the difference will be very less in practical purpose. So that's why we are considering it as same. That's why we use the term elastic limit instead of proportionality limit in defining Hooke's law. Right? That's what it is. Next one is upper yield point. Right? So upper yield point. So when tensile load further increases, the stress reaches yield stress, then material starts yielding. Okay, the strain increases more quickly for small increase in stress. That's what nothing but yielding. Okay, when a tensile load further increases, means if is load go on increasing after the elastic limit also, increase in stress reaches yield stress. Okay, yield stress is nothing but yield point, upper, it reaches a upper yield point. So what happens from the upper yield point, it is yielding starts. Means strain increases with a less in increase in very small increase of stress. Means strain increases, but increase in stress will be very less. That's what is sentence. Strain increases more quickly for small increase of strain. Stress is less resistance offered between these 2 points. Right? The strain curve suddenly falls, showing decrease in stress. The curve starts falling from point C. Means from the upper yield point, the curve starts falling again. Okay. This point is known as the upper yield point, beyond which point the stress strain curve starts downward, falling downward. That point we are calling the upper yield point. Next comes to lower yield point. So what is lower yield point? The curve falls from the point C to the point D. Okay, the curve falls from point C to point D. Between C and D, there is an increase in strain without increasing the stress. Okay, so without increase in stress, without is increase in strain, there is an increase in stress between C and D. This point is called the lower yield point. See, from between C and D, even strain increases, but no increase. Even still, it is decreasing. The stress is decreased from C to D. Right? That's why it is falling. Our curve falls down. So this point is called up to point which is the graph falls down. That point we are calling it as a lower yield point. Right? So now let us up to this point. Let us stop here. So remaining about stress strain curve. So let us discuss in the next class, right? So let us review whatever we got. Let's summarize whatever we have discussed so far. So what we have discussed in this class. So we have started with the stress Hooke's law. So what is Hooke's law? Hooke's is a scientist name who proposed this law. So Hooke's law states that up to elastic limit, the stress is proportional to the strain. Okay, so whenever it is, if at all any question asks you, so just blindly don't say that stress is Hooke's law. What is Hooke's law means? Just don't say that stress is proportional to strain. Not like that. You have to define in a proper manner that the stress is proportional to the strain. Stress is proportional to the strain up to elastic limit. Okay, only it is valid up to elastic limit, not after that. In that CM, even in the case of stress strain curve also we have discussed about. Because up to certain point only the stress is proportional to strain. After that, the curve changes from the linear variation. Okay, right? That's what it is Hooke's law. Then we are started about the discussed about the thing about stress strain diagram for the mild steel by taking some standard length of mild steel specimen of diameter, of certain diameter, and of certain gauge length. Right? There is some ratio is there between the diagram gauge length and the diameter. Your gauge length diameter increases, gauge length also increases. Diameter decreases, gauge length also decreases. There is some standard procedure is there. So based on your Indian standard code, right? So we have to test that mild steel system according to that Indian standard code, right? So if we test like this, we will form a curve will be formed. The mild steel we have seen how the graph follows, right? We have discussed about the different points and salient points of the this stress strain curve. That is nothing but lower yield point, upper yield point, and of course started with the initial limit of proportionality, then elastic limit, then upper yield point and lower yield point. So we have discussed about some of the cases, and remaining some points, strain hardening point as well as breaking point, ultimate point and breaking point. So let us discuss in the next class.